You know how political speeches can be a total whirlwind, right? They jump all over the place. Well, what if we could actually map one out? That's what we're going to do today. We're taking a recent monologue and breaking it down piece by piece to really see how it's built. What are the arguments, what's the structure, and what's the story it's trying to tell? So, this whole thing kicks off in a pretty unusual way. Not with policy, not with some big declaration, but with a fascination for a sign maker. Now, this quote isn't just a random comment. It's the hook that pulls you right into the speaker's very first point. So where does he start? With protesters. But he completely ignores what they're saying and zooms in on how well-made their signs are. It's a really interesting choice, and it sets a very specific tone for everything that's about to come. He paints this really vivid contrast here. On the one hand, you've got protest signs from the old days, authentic, grassroots stuff, made with a magic marker, sloppy as hell, but full of real passion. He puts that right up against modern signs, which he says are professionally made with the highest quality printer and a beautiful shade of yellow, basically implying they're fake, or maybe even corporate. Okay, so from talking about inauthentic protest signs, the speaker makes this huge pivot to a totally different topic, America's military. It feels like it comes out of nowhere, but as we're about to see, this jump from signs to national strength, well, it might not be as random as it first seems. And bam, here's the core assertion. It's about as definitive as you can get, a totally unambiguous statement on American military dominance. The speaker just declares it as a fact, leaving absolutely no room for debate. You gotta notice the technique he's using here. He's stocking these incredibly strong adjectives, one after another. Powerful, lethal, sophisticated. It's meant to create this overwhelming feeling of might. And then he tops it all off with fearsome, a word that's designed to make you feel both awe and, frankly, a little intimidated. Then he doubles down. He claims that no other country on Earth has weapons that are even in the same league. So the message is crystal clear. The hardware itself is the best, period. But this powerful statement immediately sets up a problem, right? I mean, if the military is so dominant and its weapons are the best in the world, what could possibly be the issue? This question is a huge turning point in the monologue. We're shifting from a story of pure strength to a story of, well, frustration. And here it is. Here's the answer. The problem isn't the quality of the equipment, it's the speed at which it's made. He's introducing this idea of a bottleneck that kind of undermines the very strength he just spent all that time describing. He's got a term for it: production lag. It's this massive gap between the promise of American military hardware and the reality of when it's actually delivered. Because you gotta ask, what good are the best weapons in the world if they show up years too late? And to make this whole lag thing feel, real, he gives a super concrete example. An ally orders a helicopter, and then they just wait and wait for 5 years. A 5-year delay that turns this promise of incredible strength into a really frustrating reality. And then he puts a really famous face on this problem to drive the point home. By naming India's Prime Minister Modi and talking about a specific order, 68 Apache helicopters, he turns a general complaint about an industry into a high-stakes international story. All right, get ready for another sharp turn, because this is where it gets personal. The speaker shifts from criticizing the system to putting himself right in the middle of it as the ultimate deal maker, the one guy who can cut through all the red tape and actually get things done. And the centerpiece of this whole story? It's a massive number, over 1,000. He claims that he, personally, sold that many Boeing planes. So he's framing himself not just as a leader, but as this uniquely gifted salesman on the world stage. And to back this whole thing up, he mentions a supposed award from Boeing. It's a detail that's designed to give his story credibility and establish him as an expert in these huge international deals. But see, even this story about him being this amazing salesman, it all comes back to the same problem. He brings up the production lag again to make a really clear point. Look, I can be the best salesman in the world, but even my deals are being undermined by these crazy multi-year delays. Okay, so now we're shifting gears again. We're moving from the factory floor to the entire nation's wallet. The focus is now on national finance, and the numbers are about to get astronomical. And he comes out with another super bold, direct claim, this time about the economy. He presents tariffs not as some complicated policy, but as a simple, straightforward source of national wealth.
he attaches a huge number to this claim, $650 billion. He says this amount is literally pouring into our country directly because of his tariff policies. It paints a picture of just massive financial success.
But just when you're trying to wrap your head around that number, the story takes another strange twist. He starts telling a story about a recent discovery in the government's finances, this unexpected, unaccounted-for pot of money. And boom, here's the mystery number, $39 billion. He describes this conversation where he's told this money just appeared, and the officials have no idea where it came from. It frames this discovery as this happy accident of his administration's great financial management. So, his big explanation for where this found money came from? He ends the story with his own simple instruction. The source of this mysterious $39 billion, he suggests, has to be the tariffs. It's the final bow on his argument that tariffs are making the country incredibly rich. So we've gone all over the place, right? From the quality of protest signs to delays in military hardware, all the way to a mysterious surplus of tariff money. I mean, these feel like totally separate topics. But if you look a little closer, each story contrasts this idea of American excellence, whether it's authentic protest, fearsome weapons, or financial success, with a system that he says is failing. So the real question isn't just what connects them, but what story that connection is really trying to tell about his view of the world.